Mike Gill, State of Corruption. I want to start by telling you today's June 8th, 2020. We are at a critical time. And this is why I've moved these pieces. The piece I'm going to give you is the absolute proof, evidence, physical evidence, videotape evidence of the corruption of the FBI. Look around. We don't have chaos. We have chaos now because our system is becoming obvious, because it is corrupt. Police officers, I've been telling you for years, that are corrupt. That's what's going on, but their bosses are corrupt, all the way up the ladder. But so isn't the FBI. In fact, the FBI, it's not that they're part of the deep state. And understand this, what the deep state really is organized crime. Do we have corrupt police officers? Right? What makes you think we wouldn't have corrupt FBI agents? In fact, if we didn't, we wouldn't have corrupt cops. They are the last bastion of protection. And why are we drowning in corruption? Because they're corrupt. It turns out working in organized crimes pays better than public servants. Listen, if it does for politicians, it does equally for the FBI. What we're going to do in this video, and why this is so critical, we are going to have an investigation. We are going to step through it, piece at a time, through a series of videos, delivering of the evidence that you see delivered. You see those doors not opening when there's 200 cars in the parking lot. You see the receipts of the evidence, and I'll show you what that evidence was. What it means is that the FBI was not only covering up from Bedford, New Hampshire, to Boston, Mass, to Washington, D.C., including the Department of Justice. After I show you this, there'll be no question in your mind that not only were they part of this cover-up, they ran an operation to confiscate evidence from me. And I'll introduce you to one of the people that they hired to do so. Okay, so let's start. Okay, I want to start by telling you, we're going to work back a little bit. Andrew Lullen, Boston, FBI, he is the U.S. Attorney. So let me explain to you what a U.S. Attorney is. A U.S. Attorney, he is the head of the prosecution of all that goes through the FBI. As your cops present a case to the Attorney General's office in your state, and they prosecute you, and they're filthy and corrupt, and the marriage is complete. Well, so isn't the FBI agents and the U.S. Attorney. It works exactly the same way, and they cover it up on a federal level. That's who U.S. Attorney Lullen is. Now, have you heard of Lori Loughlin? Right. Who do you think prosecuted her? Lullen. And why? Why? Because it was going to get publicity. Did you ever see 30 days become national news for over a year? Why did they do that? Because they wanted the news. I'm going to show you money laundering they were going to charge you with, only from protecting them from drug cartels. So it's all baloney. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's the pretty girl in the magic act. All right? But the U.S. Attorney and Attorney General's office is the same association. Okay. Now, Lullen is the most powerful U.S. attorney in the country. The Boston FBI is also the most powerful FBI. Look it up. They control 5 states. New Hampshire is a branch office. Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, branch offices. They're all run out of the Boston FBI, which is now in Chelsea. I know because I went to the Boston FBI, and when they moved to Chelsea, I moved with them. All right. So I paid Llewellyn a visit, as I did these FBI offices in Washington, multiple times, closed the doors, blocked me, had security come out and meet me. But I met with Llewellyn himself. Now I'm going to show you a short video, nominated by the president, where you see me in front of the same building Lori Loughlin's being prosecuted. Llewellyn sits right upstairs. Not only did I meet with him, with my son Michael, on camera, but I handed him evidence, critical evidence, and I'm gonna tell you a piece of that evidence, okay, in his hands. Told him to be extraordinarily careful with this, told him what this evidence meant, okay? I want you to see that tape. That tape is part of my proof. And the receipts of that evidence is confirmation of that proof. I want you to watch that clip. We're gonna step through this one at a time. We're gonna put it in his hands. We're gonna expose them, each and every location. The FBI told me on an audio tape and on video that we can get a 91A from that said Greg was a lawyer. So when did the FBI ever help us? I'll tell you when they didn't want to be connected conspiracy. That's when. You see this $274 million? Guess what? That's a performance for you on the level of their innocence. It was all fraud. When I told you they were bringing these drugs in, bringing them out of the hospitals, right? We only had Delana have an 18-wheeler full of drugs, fentanyl. And they said, good doctors, bad doctors? Wake up. Where did Alex Walker come from? The Catholic Medical Center. Where did Cacavas, Dartmouth? What is Agnos from? Besides the treatment center, the Elliott Hospital. Wake up. And that's what's going down. Now, here's our next move. The U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts is upstairs. Lenny. And this U.S. Attorney has just been appointed and nominated by President Trump. All right? So let's keep this simple, and let's keep it right to Massachusetts. I told you they offered me $50 million on the list, right? It was from Morris Mahoney, who was acting corruptly. They represented Liberty Mutual. These people were men. Walker and Shaheen was represented by Liberty Mutual. Are you understanding this? It was insurance fraud to cover up their criminality from the beginning. I mean, how big is Liberty Mutual? They were bringing in corrupt attorneys, paralegals to pay them. That's why they offered me $50 million. I wouldn't give them the releases. And then they tried to murder me 3 different times. And Greg Fedor, he also has 2 witnesses that came in, a father and son, one of which is a drug dealer for Aganos, who said there's a contract all my life right now, which is why I could live in hiding. But I'm not quitting. All right, now think about this. We give them that information on Liberty Mutual. You can go to your phone right now. You ready? Let's do this. Liberty Mutual, Morris Mahoney. And you see how many cases they represented them. It is fraud. And there's no misunderstanding. I am giving that to the U.S. Attorney in Mass. They're only, Morris Mahoney's 300 yards that way. All right? Now, what else we're giving them is the IRS, the Boston office, with Accountant Cohen from Boston, with Levine, Curtis Worley from Wilbur, okay? Where the IRS has been leveraging for money silence for the same Shaheen, same Bill Shaheen, same Alex Walker. We have their mailings. There's no question. Okay. Now I have the evidence list. So you see me deliver that evidence to Llewellyn. The top guy, the top dog. In fact, there was an IRS criminal agent named Jeremiah Devlin, who contacted me in December. Now, he was a guy I met 6 years ago. You can hear the tape. Ready? IRS caught on tape again. Yeah, he didn't think I was taping him. Well, he was wrong. When he threatens my children, tell me where they're living, tell me my son's playing basketball, and he also confirms that he was the one I met with those years ago with Kerry Lemieux, who was my paralegal, was working with Shaheen and Walker. They directed me to Titka, who ran that 3-year cover-up with the IRS. So he's already implicated, which is why he gives you a call. Now, I'm only going to have you listen to a minute. But in this minute, he goes, how did you get the top dog to take your evidence? Like, it's almost unbelievable. Listen.
My mail for 3 years. Now, we have that mail. It's intercepted in the mail, okay. Right, it was all sealed for 3 years. And all that mail now is, if you talk to Andrew Lullen, U.S. Attorney Lullen, took it from me in camera by hand in front of witnesses, the mail. That mail is now part of a mail fraud complaint, and that is with U.S. Attorney, that is now with Special Agent Paul Ventura of the FBI in the Chelsea's office. How'd you get a hold of Andrew Lullen? He's like the U.S. Attorney, he's like the top dog. How'd you get a conversation with the top dog? The top dog, because the top dog knew exactly who I was. And when I walked into his office, he met me in person, in camera, under witness. So and how about this? You ready? The top dog is giving me, through a 91A, an evidence list that's all signed. In fact, if you go to the video, right? In fact, you can go to the last video, you'll see that Lullen received the evidence and given me the receipt of all the evidence.
Top dog from Devlin. He said that he didn't even know who Andrew Lullen was, and in the conversation he called him Andy. Well, you know why Andy's involved? Because Andy could go to jail too, along with Devlin. This is the door to the deep state, the IRS and the FBI. But now, this is what you should be asking yourself, because this is the genius in this. Why did he open the door where the other FBI agents weren't? When that door opened in an FBI, when the camera went down, they threatened me, physically threatened me. Maybe we get to see that video. And I didn't back down. And then one other time when Hassenbecker, who was running an operation for the FBI, happened to tell me the guy I was with, Greg Theodore, you know, the guy taking the pictures, he was a mole working for them. Hassenbecker was his operative. I wasn't certain, but I was when I got them together. Hassenbecker saw me catch him. And that's what they do, they give themselves up. Okay, so what opened the door? It was the cheese that opened the door. I'm gonna show you a picture of an envelope. This envelope came from Curtis Morley, an accountant. That his brother was Thomas Morley of Titka, the criminal division of the Treasury, who was supposed to be investigating the IRS. Instead, they ran over a 3 to 4 year cover-up. That mail was killer evidence. It was all those years, all those communications were sealed. So we can't say he represented me as an accountant. You would have had to open up an envelope. You see, it was a lie. Lullen, as these other FBI agents and all, needed the evidence. That was evidence they needed. That door opened up, and I knew it was going to open up because we had the cheese. But I did it intentionally, and I documented it. And we're going to keep referring back to this evidence list of Lullen, okay? This is, you can see his name on the top, and we'll show you the piece. But let's take a look what he has. Evidence of its extortion, organized crime, attempted murder, video of a hitman, insurance fraud, right? But it was also the fraud of the IRS and the extortion. That proves it. And it also proves that the FBI guilty for holding it, right? Okay, but that's what opened that door, and that's what set the trap. And this is the trap that I'm giving you now. So let's take a look. Walker and Kakavas. Walker was my attorney. You've seen the videos. Kakavas did work for me too. Then he became the U.S. attorney, prosecuting cases for the FBI. And the first order of business was to get off FRM, a Ponzi scheme that would have opened the vault to the banking commission to get everybody's money. So Walker was the deep state, so was he. When I caught them both, you know what they both moved into? They both resigned immediately, went to the Dartmouth Hospital, and Walker to the Catholic Medical Center. Because the hospitals, you know, where the drugs are coming out of, is the big payoff. So after you do the dirty deed, they cut you from the host and they give you a big paying position. Walker's the number 2 person in the whole hospital. Okay? But what you've got to know is that corruption started with the U.S. Attorney Kakavas. Now, I went and visited the U.S. Attorney Kakavas. And Farley was there. And I referenced the FRM and what they were doing, and I said frankly that I'm putting them both in jail. Now, they giggled a little bit. I'm sure they're not giggling now. But Kakavas knew me fairly well. And that might have been more nervous laughter. Now, remember Bill Shaheen, the head of this crime organization with the wife? You know what he used to be? The U.S. attorney. Another connection to the FBI and the deep state, and his partner, Gordon, was the assistant. And who did they protect against me? Oh, I don't know, the largest drug cartel in this country. Who was on the $50 million settlement offer that I did again, brought over here? Bill Shaheen. Oh, and Alex Walker too. And Divine Millimet, the company Walker worked for. All right? But now we're in. My attorneys. What they were telling them was Gil is on this Ponzi scheme. He won't take a deal. Walker was my attorney and friend. I'm telling him what I'm doing. I'm telling him I'm meeting with the victims. They had to take me out then. I was someone that wouldn't be scared. Shaheen and Walker were both my attorneys. And I was smarter than them. And they knew that too, which made me honest and can outwit them. I just didn't know how big they were. We don't know that still yet. Okay, let's keep going. Now, remember the settlement offer, and I'm going to show you for the 50 and the people who were in it, okay? That also are on this inventory report. That is an admission of guilt that values at $50 million of extortion, of mail fraud, and insurance fraud, right? Now they have that. Now this $50 million comes from Morrison and Mahoney. You can see it right up here. Morrison Mahoney represented insurance companies, Liberty Mutual, the same people who were representing Walker and Shaheen and so many more. It was fraud from the beginning. In fact, we had a lawyer named John Friedman. Now, John Friedman isn't just a lawyer. He was working for me. But he also, at the very time, sat on the bar of overseers. That's like policing of lawyers with lawyers. And you know what he said? It'd be like suing my own client, Mike. What do you mean, John? They represent Liberty. The only reason to go to Morris Mahoney was Nick Alexander and Renner told me that they were going to the FBI. In fact, John Friedman, sitting on the bar of overseers, I got this call. I want you to hear it.
I was in the office, so it doesn't ring through. In any event, I don't know about any meeting on Friday. It is not including me. I don't see any reason for delay. I don't know what Nick is thinking in terms of the delay. I certainly think that irrespective of the lawsuit, going to the authorities would be the smart move now. I also wanted to confirm with you.
You see, that was Friedman. Go to the authorities. He knew they weren't going to the authorities, but that's what the intention was. And from there was the settlement offer and the guilt. Now, everything that I'm saying to you now, what you have to understand, the most powerful U.S. attorney in this country has all that evidence to a T. But let's see how we got there, okay? Once I said no, they tried to murder me 3 times in 13 days. In fact, here's a clip. Just a minute clip from Kill Gill. You can hear the rest. Where this guy turned down a contract on my life. Listen.
Nashville right now, my house coach you 3 seconds up and he says, I can buy perks, I can buy heroin, I can buy whatever that's what you want. And you know who knows it? George Sahoyas. You know why? Because he gets a piece of it.
I know.
He gets a piece of it. Let me tell you something. Me personally?
Yeah.
I gotta walk away and say this.
Yeah.
I have been in his house smoking cocaine too.
Who? Sequoias?
Yeah. I've been in his house, and I'm a street guy. I went to jail. I used to hurt people for a living. And you know what's funny? Long time ago, when I don't get involved in politics, they wanted me to hurt you. And I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. That's New Hampshire. You would get an arrest or something, and somebody's like, hey, listen, how much does fucking kind of make this guy go away? I'm all set. I got out of jail a long time ago. I have a child.
They tried to kill me 3 times.
Yeah, they're a bunch of idiots.
3 times. Once in jail.
As far as Andy Cruz, the only thing I can tell you about him.
Okay. Now, if you want to listen to the rest of the tape, where he goes, he said 7 years in jail for biting a guy's nose off and then sawing off his ears. How he can buy machine guns out of auto fare and as much drugs as we want. And part of his job was collecting. He could talk to you about how his associate put a chainsaw to a 10-year-old girl's neck. His words. Why don't you lift him? You tell me if you think he's a kidder. All right. Now I'm going to show you with this, I'm showing you this evidence. We've also, as you see with Lullen, a video of a hitman. Not 1, but 2. There was also an investigation in Miami where they only had somebody break into my hotel room.
Hi, this is Sergeant McCullough with Miami Beach Police. If you can give me a call back at 305-877-2427 regarding your case from the Ritz. Thank you.
From the Ritz, right. They just had to have my hotel room number, had a card for it, and was coming through the door as I grabbed the handle. And if it wasn't for wrestling him out to the hallway, it was only a 6'7" Russian. The security cameras caught them, and security from the hotel and the police. There was an investigation that they tried to shut down. Okay? Now again, I'm going to Bedford, New Hampshire, the FBI. I'm going to show you how, with 200 cars in the parking lot, no one would dare open that door.
You see that that's the Bureau of FBI. We want to catch the door. Assuming somebody's home. All I know. See, now they're scurrying around. What the hell are we gonna do? He's here with the evidence. We don't want to be on camera, right? See, the last time I was here, we made it through the door. There's a metal detector. I wanted to show the 2 FBI agents the threats among children's lives. They wouldn't touch the phone. Except for I picked it up, threw it through the metal detector, only have the detective catch it, and then pick it up and slide it in my pocket. They don't like fingerprints. Or answering the door. Do you know if there's anybody home?
I live next door. Maybe there's a bell?
I'm ringing the bell. Knocking on the door. It's a good thing it's an emergency. Is there somebody there? Do you have any place to go? I don't have any place to go.
Will you mess me up? We're going to be working out here. Should we give you some time?
Excuse me?
Should we not?
Oh, you can go by.
No, we're actually going to be working right here. Is that okay? Is it bothering you guys?
If you just give us a minute, we're just hoping them to open their door.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Something about reporting crimes. They don't like it. Hello, is there anybody from the FBI here? They're the white folks. You don't actually believe nobody's behind that door, do you? So is it, you're just listening? Well, if you are listening, I have a package that will help solve our heroin crisis in the state. That does say, wait a minute, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice. Just checking. If it was anybody else, I think they might open the door. Videotaping me? Listen, she comes back and videotape her. So you know what the difference with this time? If you remember the last time they were waiting for me. You know why they were waiting for me? Because they had moles in the company that were telling them I was coming here. See, we don't have any moles anymore. You know how I know? Because they didn't know. And that's why they won't open the door. Okay. This is Mike Gill, running for governor. I know you're in there. I'll come back with the evidence. I'm going to mail you some more packages. All right. Mike Gill with State of Corruption.
Now, if I'm anything, I'm persistent. I knew what that evidence was. I knew the FBI was running not only a cover, were part of this. They couldn't take the evidence. There was a computer on them that was Brian Toomey's computer that was giving my location to be murdered. And the discussions were with the AG of New Hampshire, Richard Head, Alex Walker, Shaheen. So it was dangerous. That's why they wouldn't take it. They would literally find themselves. Now they'd steal it, but they wouldn't take it. Now watch me again knock on that door. And remember, there must have been 5 or 6 trips to that one door. Watch.
Does this look familiar? We're back. Let's see if they'll open. They want evidence? Let's give them evidence. Hello, this is Mike Gill. I got a knob full of evidence. They'll put drug dealers in jail and corrupt politicians. Could you open the door, please? I still say they might open it.
Can I help you?
Yes, I have some evidence to drop off.
What
Well, let me see. We've got the federal audit for the state of New Hampshire that says they're paying illegal vendors. We've got IRS, RICO. We've got drug dealers. And how about this? An attempted murder and a confession from a gentleman that was hired to murder me. Do we have your interest? Well, well, I told you. You know what the difference is? These bastards don't want to go to jail. And you know why I'm here? To put them in jail. How do you think these drug deals get away with it? From these guys doing nothing. It's a bunch of Bedford cops. They call themselves FBI. Do you remember the DEA? We dropped the package in his hand. What'd they do? They turn around and turn over a tractor trailer load of fentanyl. Let's see what this gets us. And I'll tell you, if they don't do anything, no problem. We get them too. In fact, at this point, I hope they don't. But they are going to get this. Because if they don't open that door, I'm going to let her know. I'm going to leave it right there. TikTok. You know what this also means? They didn't know we were coming. You remember Eileen Landy? Every time I come back off of the setup, from court, from right here, from in Boston, you know what she said? Without even being asked. I didn't do it. Oh, yes, she did, and this proves it. This is the time they're taking now. Now they're listening, and good. They're going, what the fuck are we gonna do? We don't want to go to jail. Do we open the door? There again, they could come out here and hit me over the head with a fucking club. And the cameraman has instructions to run like a son of a bitch and leave me on the floor. But he takes the camera and the chip with him. Isn't that so, cameraman? That's true. I came this close from bringing a lawn chair. Yeah, attempted murder, drugs. Nah. We don't do that shit. You know, my Manchester son is about 2 miles from that door. And it says investigation. You know what I should have done? Left a sign and put drug breadcrumbs all the way to the door. That's them thinking. I can hear it. Do we take the evidence and shoo them away? Who wants to talk to him? I ain't gonna fucking talk to him. The next thing I'll know, I'll be on a fucking video. You know, I'm almost certain the store opens. They gotta be getting in there some way, right? Fidelity, bravery, and integrity.
I'm going to introduce you to the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Hampshire. Kakavas resigned right after I met with them. They tend to do that. Guess what? This guy, U.S. Attorney Farley, that shit sack resigned right after I met him too. And the people I was with would come up and testify. I only had drug carriers wanting to turn. I had people who were transporting the drugs wanting to come forwards. He goes, no. Takes the computer, takes the evidence, the phone, mails them back the next day. You see? But you see me in front of Farley's office. Again, the U.S. Attorney.
Now, you know what I'm gonna go in there with that I'm certain will get me killed? I got the courier from AutoFair working with Cruz and Sequoias with trunk loads of heroin. Guess what? Going to New York. That's right. You're the heroin capital. And a truckload of money coming back in the cars. I only got the driver. Right. Now I'm going to give them the driver. You see, there is no
There's no mistakes here. The money in drugs was too great. They built an empire. They built businesses, treatment centers, buildings and hospitals, right? This is what they did. They bought your politicians.
See another post, picture, special delivery. That's me going into Boston, except for whoever's filming is calling ahead to tell them I'm coming. And they have people outside waiting for me each and every time. Right. Now, we've mailed them the evidence and we have receipt. But no one wants to talk to me face to face. You know why? They know exactly who I am. I'm the guy pounding the door down in Bedford, New Hampshire. I'm the guy who just threatened to put 2 U.S. attorneys in prison. And a third one to come, Lowen. All right? It wasn't that I didn't go to Washington. You're going to see that I went to Washington. There's a video called Evidence to Die For. You even see me drop the computer. That's Toomey's computer. The evidence, you hear me say organized crime, attempted murder, drug cartel. Those agents, the one in the back, the black fellow in the front was talking to me, the other one in the back was the supervisor, and that son of a bitch followed me for days, and a day or two before I came there. They were on me when I got out of my car. That's the FBI office in Washington. Now, what you saw there was my 3rd or 4th trip. Each time it happened.
What, New Hampshire? I just told you. How about this? Everybody you know might know, then you know I dropped this evidence off to the U.S. attorney, and they mailed it back. You know why? Because we put the whole thing on video. Okay? Went to the FBI, they mailed it back. You know why? Because it's true.
The thing is, we got to get it in the right place.
We have to go to Washington.
The U.S. Attorney Office is an entity of the United States President. So is the FBI. So
By state level.
no, on the federal level, they all work for the federal government, FBI and the
Right.
Attorney
But these individuals come from the state and are controlled by these individuals. Millions of people have seen what I've said. Listen, this stuff is indisputable. Clay, can you grab that? 3 attorneys in hiding because they're afraid to be murdered. My attorneys. This is how big this is. This drug cartel has corrupted the state, as it has many other states. But I am telling you, they're in the hospitals, they're in the treatment centers. I have witnesses from the treatment centers. They're selling drugs out of the treatment centers. You can't bring this back to the state, which is why I'm in Washington. I need somebody above that.
I understand your frustration, and I understand.
But this is a frustration. This is corruption. Listen, they're trying to murder me with this.
I'm trying to get you to the right.
But don't give me the people that everybody here, million people are going to see it. Know that I've already been there. And it is true. This computer has the going on between the people inside my company, Bill Shaheen and Alex Walker, to the point where they schedule my death on that computer. Right. And you know who Bill Shaheen is? He's the husband of Jean Shaheen, the senator. That's the kind of pull we have. I ran for governor. They tried to murder me. No doubt about it. The guy who ran for senator was my campaign manager. He got leveraged by the drug dealers for $20 million, and he threw the race to get passing me there. All through. Listen, I've got 70, 80 witnesses. You pick it. But if you're sending me back to the same people who are corrupt,
I'm trying to get you to the right.
give it to me in Washington. Who in Washington? Don't send us back to the states. Our state is corrupted. I'm going to Washington, our capital, go to a next level.
Now listen. It wasn't that I thought they were going to open the door. In fact, I knew that they weren't. What I was doing was showing you the evidence, showing you they weren't opening the door. Let's forget now. It wasn't like I'm some guy who fell off the turnip truck. I was one of the leading businessmen in the state, one of the leading mortgage origination company in all of the United States. I was running for governor at the very time. And my platform was fighting corruption. which is when they tried to murder me. Can you imagine me as governor? We might have started something that would have went across this country, and that was my intent. Again, now you're going to see me in a little video. Let's not rule out the Department of Justice being corrupt. I've been mailing them truckloads. In fact, this one day, do you see this video? I got 74 responses back from the Department of Justice with a case number and each and every one of them. And you see it for yourself.
United States Department of Justice. United States Department of Justice. This is the DOA that I've been sending all those complaints to. Right. You know what they say? They turn around and say that they're going to investigate and attach and assign the case number right here. Okay? Times 73 more.
All right? So let's get this. And let's finish this with Lullen, okay? So you see me go to the U.S. Attorney Office, Lullen. You see me go to the U.S. Attorney Kakavas in Farley. You see me pounding quite vigorously on the door in the FBI several times, including in Washington. No one's denying my evidence. The guys in Washington, I said, you know who I am? They go, Mike Gill. How do the FBI agents in Washington know exactly who I am if it wasn't what I had was so dangerous? Okay, so let's remind you again. So you saw the evidence. You saw me try to deliver it. You saw them openly avoid me. Whatever I had to do, refuse to give it back, any of the evidence. And yet they ran an operation. You'll see a face of a guy named Jonathan Irish. He sold 9 automatic weapons to an undercover cop. You know what? Kakavas was the prosecutor. He already sentenced him. Gave him a deal like nothing. Steal Brian Toomey's computer. He was working with Eileen Landy, who was associated with Erin Day, who Walker just sued. Seems like Erin might be squeezing him a bit. That's my guess. Erin's the keeper of a lot of secrets too, which is why I told the president, better snatch him for a witness. Maybe Erin's using it against them. All right, but I'm gonna show you this to prove what they have. So let's see what Lullen has in his hands. This is a receipt. I didn't categorize the evidence, he did. The New Hampshire banking. They're on the settlement offer. They were laundering the drug money. They got it. The letters addressing to Lullen regarding the IRS. Remember that envelope that could put Lullen in jail and all of them in jail? Right. Says he's got it. Morse Mahoney, the lawsuit. How are they going to turn around and say they're not organized crime when they were, and fraud, where they work for the insurer that we're suing? And who did they protect? Walker, Shaheen, all the law firms, the New Hampshire Banking Commission, the New Hampshire Banking Commissioner, the IRS themselves. That's organized crime, folks. But they can send Lori Loughlin to jail. Whether you believe her or not, I don't care. A criminal like this can't be doing the sending. Evidence of extortion. Well, I don't know, 50 million is pretty good evidence. Organized crime. Murder for hire. They only had the information on the computer. There was only 3 attempts outside of the murder for hire. Judicial corruption. Right. Think about this. That's what the deep state does. It controls your judges. These guys are lawyers whose law firms produce the same judges that get you beat. The same judges that came out of the corrupt AG's office, just as the U.S. Attorney's office corrupt. It's always a fix when they want it to be. That's what they sell. That's what the deep state buys. Your chemical industries, pharmaceutical, big banks, healthcare. That's what they're paying for. All right, let's take a look what else we got. A hitman, and we only tracked him to Massachusetts. Okay? We even knew where he was. Insurance fraud. Well, Jesus, that's Liberty Mutual. They were both representing the same company. I'd say that's fraud. Money laundering. Money laundering, you get the banking department, not only do you get the launderer, you get all their cash. And you can see me say, Morley, New Hampshire Banking Department. They put it on a thumb drive and disk. They did this. They even says evidence is with the FBI and the Attorney General's office in Washington. Again, right here. I didn't tell them that. But they knew. The $50 million settlement offer, they got it. What the hell did they pay you $50 million for? I can tell you what they do to you when you refuse. They try to murder you. And it also said murder for hire with my son. We only had it in text. We knew the guy's name is Ted Little, threatened to murder my son if I said anything. From his own phone. You see, this is receipts. They have it. The U.S. attorney, the most powerful in the country, has that. You've seen me take this evidence each and every place. I had these criminals on my signs, giant message centers at one time, 8 of them at one time, with their faces on it. Because these FBI wouldn't do anything. The DEA didn't do anything. Don't you think that I would rather have gone that way? You don't think I knew how dangerous it was? You can see me in many videos saying that they were going to take everything I had. Well, they control the courts. In fact, I assumed I'd be dead before they got around to it. It was faster. So what I'm telling you is, we've just exposed them. The reason why chaos reigns is the people who are the last line of defense, the FBI, are completely and totally corrupt. I'll close with this. Do you know U.S. Attorney Mullen? Do you know who had his position before? Mueller. You've heard of the Russian investigation, right? The FBI, you don't think they're part of that? Of course they are. You think that they're the ones that are fooled? Really? You don't think the IRS is going to go after the president? He does. You don't think Shaheen's part of the deep state? The president does. When I just talked to Titka a month ago, and I have it on my cell phone, you get to see it on the IRS video. Marco Sorelli, give me another account number. In an hour and a half conversation, he asked me 3 questions. Does Trump know? Are you sure that Trump knows? How much does Trump know? All of it. Mike Gill, State of Corruption.